What's going on, everybody? Happy Tuesday. Happy New Comic Book Day Eve, or if you are in Ontario, white world, because there's just snow everywhere, about like 4 feet here in Ontario. So if you don't have any snow, or if you have left less than a foot, congratulations. You are in a better place than Ontario. But yeah, New Comic Book Day tomorrow. It's going to be a good one. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Special guest today. So we got our key comics to still invest in. So, we always bring in our friend, Mr. Ryan from Automatic Comics. So he'll be joining us today. He likes to talk numbers and percentages. So it's just fitting that he's joining us for the show. First up, though, let's bring in the amigos. Let's bring in Mr. FaceTime. Face, what's going on?
What's going on, bro? Just living the dream, loving the snow.
I think I asked you beforehand, how bad did you get it where you are?
Yeah, like 6 inches or so.
6 inches. Wow. Okay, that's nothing.
It's not too bad, but enough to make these people around here go fucking crazy.
Oh yeah, dude. It's like gas went up to like 150 here. People, like, the grocery store was backed up. Everything, like, you close the world for like a day, and it's like, people just lose their mind. So
yeah, crazy. Exactly. Nobody can drive. It's nonsense.
Yeah. Oh my god. Well, thanks for joining me, brother. All right, so let's bring in our special guest. Let's bring him in because we need to start talking about some comics. Mr. Ryan from Automatic Comics. What's going on, man?
Hey, yeah, thanks for having me again.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, we got a little bit of that snow, but it all melted. We got snow, then sleet, and then rain all within about 20 hours. So it's all basically gone now.
Not like you're that's the way to do it. Just get it gone real quick.
We're supposed to get freezing rain tomorrow night and Thursday. So
oh yeah,
it is what it. Like I said, today was like -3 and sunny, and I was like, oh, thank God. Like, I was shoveling, and it was like
all your metric units. I keep like,
oh yeah, that's right.
I know, right?
Like -3. I'm like, God, that is freezing. You're like, oh, it's nice out.
Yeah, -3 for Canada is nice, but the sun was out. That was the important thing. The sun hasn't been in Canada for like, I don't know, weeks, it seems. So yeah, it was just nice to see some sun, and you were shoveling, and you didn't need a toque, you didn't need gloves. It was cold, but it wasn't that bad. So
I remember that when I used to live in Michigan and Chicago. Like, it's just gray for like 5 months.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, it's ridiculous, man. But gentlemen, before we start the show, I kind of want to get your opinions on something. There was a trailer that dropped last night, and I just want to get your quick thoughts. Yeah, Ryan's showing off his Moon Knights right behind him. I just want to get your quick thoughts on what you guys thought of the trailer. Ryan, we can start with you.
I thought it was awesome. I loved it. It got me excited. The music was great with it. It's like, I mean, that's part of it. Like, having the right soundtrack with things really gets you kind of like pumped up for, like, that's what really got like the Shang-Chi trailer for me. Like, they had the right music with that. It really went with it. And then, I mean, they give you a little better picture of the costume and how he actually like puts it on, which I thought was really cool. I thought it was fun that it was something that's not just like your standard like Batman type outfit. It was something different. And then him, beating the crap out of something. I personally do not think that was Werewolf by Night. I think it was some other creature, whatever it might be. But yeah, I thought that whole scene was awesome.
Face, what did you think about the trailer?
Yeah, I agree with Ryan. I don't think that was Werewolf by Night. I mean, it's possible, but I think they're gonna save him for later. I think they were talking about that holiday special, bringing him in for that or whatever. So yeah, I agree 100% on that. As far as the trailer itself, like, yeah, it was dope. The vibe was right. I mean, it felt like they really kind of got the character of Moon Knight and the multiple personalities, and they're really going to dive into that and explore it. And a lot of people were complaining about him having a British accent and everything like that, but especially because he's an American actor. They were like, oh, well, why are they using an American actor and giving him a British accent? That's one of his personalities. Like, his personality, it is like a British guy. So he has a British accent when, that's who he is. So, I think that was just kind of one of those things where it was that particular identity. And I think, people that were worrying about it got a little too bent. The suit, I was concerned at first. I really was especially seeing the first images and everything. But like whenever they showed that scene, like Ryan said, of how it goes on and everything, it kind of makes more sense why it looks like it does, I guess. So I'm taking a little bit more of a wait and see on the suit. But other than that, I thought it was fantastic, man. I'm excited. I can't wait.
One of my favorite things when like trailers come out is, and you know, I always talk about it, even when like shows happen, right? I love the, you know, 672 and a half Easter eggs you missed while watching this like 1 minute and 2 second trailer. And it's like,
Right.
like some of it like makes sense. I'm like, oh shit, okay, I didn't really see that, but I also like watched it in real time. Like I didn't slow down. But then there's some that I'm like, that is a stretch. Like,
Well, that's like I commented on something with I did like a poll on my channel last night, and somebody made a comment about Mephisto. I was like, "This is definitely Mephisto. He was punching on the ground." It's like that's how you get all those rumors. You know, it's like
confirmed. Yeah.
yeah, somebody's like somebody has a still picture of like when he's in like the truck or whatever, like with the gun, right? And like they froze it, and like I guess like right behind him there's a box and it has like Vaughn. So everybody's like, "Oh my god, that's Doctor Doom! Doctor Doom's coming in Moon Knight!" And it's like, are you out of your mind? Like if they
Right.
bring in Doctor Doom in a Disney Plus, like I think that would just be like ridiculous. I mean,
Yeah, I don't see
they
Dr. Doom
introduced
in it.
Kang in Loki,
I-
and
yeah.
everybody was like, "They're never going to introduce Kang. They might mention him, you know, but they did."
it's true.
And so
That is
I'm
true.
not saying it's Doom, but I'm also like I have no idea what they might do in any given show
yeah.
or movie.
The only thing that I liked about the trailer was that they didn't give away too much, right?
The
Like that was
only
one
thing you
thing that I
liked, so
took away
you
from
didn't
it.
like the trailer?
No. I like the trailer. It's just I like the fact that they didn't show too much. Like you know how sometimes trailers like you see basically like 2 scenes of like
Oh
the
yeah,
movie. Like I like the
I
fact
think
they
Disney
didn't
has done
show
that
much.
really well
Yeah.
with how they do their trailers. They
Yeah.
don't give stuff away. Like you have no idea.
Mhm.
And yeah, I agree. I don't want to know what's going on in that. I love those like weekly recap shows that different channels do. I love watching those. It's a lot of fun
Yeah.
because I mean, I'm not somebody who's like super familiar with Moon Knight, so I'm going to need some of those shows for people to
Yeah.
probably tell me what's going on.
Oh yeah,
with some of this stuff.
But no, I'm excited. That's the next project, right? Like that is the next show we get. That is the next like there's no movie. That is the next thing. So March 30th, circle it on your calendars. I can't remember if it's a Wednesday or Friday. And then they're gonna stick with the what was it, the Friday? Because I think
I
Hawkeye
have
was
no idea.
yeah.
No, I think they
it's
were
still
doing
Hawkeye
Friday.
wasn't Fridays, I don't think. I thought it was like
Yeah, no, it's
Wednesdays,
still been
Thursdays.
Wednesdays.
Still Wednesdays? Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, because I know we went Wednesday, Friday, Wednesday. So yeah. But I'm excited. It'll be Moon Knight from here till March 30th. Everyone's gonna, you know, try to get the best buck. All the spec stuff is gonna come out now. And again, it shouldn't really surprise a lot of people because like we knew he was coming. It's just it goes back to it's not in our face. Now it is. So, you know, just get ready for that stuff. But yeah, all right. Well, I'm glad, man. I'm not too familiar with Moon Knight myself, so I'm learning a lot. That Andrew
And that honestly, that is always the thing that I think is it's a valid concern with specking on stuff related to him is because he is not a household name. You know,
Right.
it's not like Spider-Man, you know, it's not like Batman, that kind of thing. It's like Moon Knight is a character that comic collectors are aware of. But that is about the extent of it.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting how it plays out. We've already got our first book that kind of exploded through like spec last night. Moon Knight #2, Volume 2, #2. First appearance of I think it's Arthur Andrew Harlow. He's only in that one issue.
Ethan Hawke.
Yeah, Ethan Hawke's character. It was a $2 book prior to that, and now it is a $110 book as they are selling for $100 Canadian raw, which is crazy, but I mean, I guess you know it goes to show you what happened. Yeah, I
don't be the
I don't know
person
who's
that
buying
pays
that, but
$100 for that book.
Right.
yeah, it's a little crazy, but yeah. Well, let's get going. So the show, the topic, keys to still invest in. Ryan, again, thanks for tuning in. I know you are a numbers guy and you like to invest and you like to buy a lot of keys. So we always bring you on when we do these shows because you're the expert. So we've talked about a few of these books that we are going to be talking about. So Hopefully you remember none of them are surprises like last time. Last time you were like, what the hell is this one? So
We'll
yeah.
see. I haven't looked at it in a little bit. So.
All right, let's say hello to the chat before we get started. Uncanny Swag, what's going on, man? Gold medal to you. Dan De La Torre, there's no gold for you. It's just silver. Empire's taking the bronze. What's going on, Empire? How you doing, man? Miguel, how you doing? Lux. So just got introduced to Lux. He lives in Ozzy's neck of the woods, but a fellow Canadian. We were chatting. He had a few questions, so I was able to help him out. So thanks for joining.
Right.
Mr. Automatic, Mr. Jamie, Kenneth, what's going on? Specs Man, what's the biggest bet on the mid-season character for the show?
No idea.
Batman.
Wow.
I'm stoked for Moon Knight, but the 25 Easter eggs is a little much. That's the thing. But I guess it happens, right? Like we try to just be on what's next. That we go, frame by frame. We slow it down and we try to just come up with these things. And sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. But yeah, like we've already heard like werewolf, but I'm with Ryan and Face. I don't think that was werewolf. So
I mean, I do think that's a character that's going to be used at some point in something.
Yeah.
That Disney's doing, but
it's not in the show.
I don't think that was, and it could even be in this show, but I don't think that's who he was punching.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know there was some rumors for some, like, I think a holiday special or something around, Halloween, possibly this year, but I don't know if that's what they're actually doing or not, but that would be interesting if they do that.
Yeah.
Give him his own little feature.
Yeah. I think all those monsters are coming. I think the one that's like really slept on is the Living Mummy, but that's just me. I'm trying to keep that quiet, so not a lot of people.
Well, you just put it on YouTube.
Is it because you've bought a bunch of them?
I'm just saying, everybody's like, oh, Dracula, werewolf. I mean, sometimes people forget about like Frankenstein or the Mummy. Like they're gonna touch on those ones too, right? And I feel like that one's like still cheap. So I think I've said too much. So
they tried that with Tom Cruise. That movie didn't do too great.
Oh God, yeah. Jeez.
Yeah, that's true. That wasn't Marvel though. They didn't have the Marvel.
Yeah, don't get me started on that one. Specs Man, yeah. So that's the book right there. Current high bid on an auction of that book in near mint is $182, which is crazy. But
yeah, that's fucking nuts.
That's what we do, right? That's what we do. Yeah, why would you buy the book now? It makes no sense. RP. Foss, what's going on, man? Thanks for joining. All right. Con, thoughts on Bloodstone making a debut? I don't think it happens here. That's all. I think they're going to save all those characters for
I hope it happens soon, though.
Yeah, it will, but I think we have to wait until Blade comes first.
Yeah, definitely.
Uncanny. And then Ozzy, what's going on, man? All right, so let's get it going. Hawaiian Punch, man, what's going on, brother? I'm still hyped for Blade more than Moon Knight. Yeah, I think more people are just they know Blade more than Moon Knight, right? Like I have buddies who like superheroes. They're not necessarily into comics, but they'll like. I had two of my buddies be like, "Who's Moon Knight?" Right? But they know Blade. So
I mean, that's the thing. Like that's why I like the idea of the Moon Knight thing, because that one it's an unknown for me. So it could be. It's like it's got lower expectations with it. I mean, the Blade movie, like at least Blade 1 and 2 were a lot of fun. Were like really good movies, especially for like comic movies at that time period.
Yeah.
And so I think a lot of people are going to go into whatever the next Blade is with like really, really high expectations, and it'll be easy to let people down. Whereas this, I think it's the opposite.
Yeah. I think they really have to hit on this because I think that they do have a lot of eggs in this basket here for Moon Knight to be successful and to kind of maybe one day move into movies and things. So it's going to be interesting, but
a Punisher appearance would be fucking fantastic. And that's definitely something that they could possibly do. So
this is like when people start saying, Red Hulk is going to show up in Winter Soldier and
right?
Norman Osborn, and like let's slow down. We still got it's March 30th.
Yeah, anything's possible with the cameos. Like they can make them work. It's just a matter of are they going to? Because remember they brought in fucking damn, well, I can't remember the actress's name, but she played Valentina.
Yeah, Elaine.
Julia Louis-Dreyfus.
My guess for the mid-season character Moon Knight is going to be his brother Randall. I think they're going to have to touch on that family aspect. He's got a brother. You know, he's a sidekick, then he's an enemy. You know, there's a lot there. So I really do think that that could be the character. I don't necessarily think that they have to go big because, you know, when you get to these characters, you don't necessarily want to bring out all your aces or all your tricks all at once because you have to save it for down the road. So I don't know. But anyway,
that first Val is still, that book has held up. I thought the what is it, Strange Tales 158, something like that. The first Elaine Bennis.
oh, really?
Oh yeah, I mean, I've seen some continued big sales for high grade copies. I figured it would tank kind of like FF93 did. Now, I mean, that's come back, but it really hasn't. It still has some pretty strong sales with it.
Yeah, Ryan, I wanna highlight this question. I know he asked me. I just want to get your opinion because, you know, you usually rip the Band-Aid when I ask you stuff about like, hey, should I sell? Should I not? You know, things like that. So I think that maybe you could help him out. I kind of gave him an answer, but what do you think? He talked to me about this prior, but he just bought a Moon Knight #1 CGC 8.5 at 180 Canadian, potential to flip at the start or end of the show.
I mean, what I've seen with shows is that they do, unlike movies, it tends to be, it's like first trailer, that's when you sell. But shows, if the show is well received, it continues to, I wouldn't wait till the end. It's kind of like the middle of the show. If it's really well received, kind of like the middle of the show. But that's risky. I mean, if it ends up being something that everybody doesn't like, then kind of early on. So if you're planning on selling it regardless, if you have your win with it, like if you're able to sell it for some type of gain on it, then I'd say whenever, but I wouldn't wait till past halfway through the episode or through the show, because that is when you start to see drops like Journey into Mystery 85. I mean, that show, or that first Loki, it really peaked kind of like midway through the season, and then it's fallen off quite a bit. I expect it'll probably come back up because it's a big key, but that's like, I mean, that shows you like big keys will also fall after shows, after movies. Yeah. So I wouldn't wait till the end. That's my personal opinion.
Yeah, you're 100% right. I mean, it's exactly about timing, and it just depends on how much strength you have, how much faith you have in the show. Like, honestly, if you think it's going to be great, you know, that middle of the series time frame is the best point to sell, because, you know, that's when people are, you know, most excited. Big events start to happen, you know, in the series and everything like that. So that's where you get the highest price. But if it's not going to be good, you might start looking, if you feel like, oh, I watched the trailer, I don't know, I'm not having a whole lot of faith in this, you might want to try and drop it right before the show, you know, right at the beginning. So
and granted, I've seen a few
good,
people,
so.
Like, I've seen a few people that have said they didn't like it, but I'd say the vast majority.
I think most people like it.
Yeah. It's new. It's not something, and that's what, you know, we always do that. We did it with Shang-Chi, you know, Aquaman, even like there are characters that we just haven't seen. We have this like question mark on how it's going to go. And I think that's what goes to it. If they were to come out tomorrow, be like, hey, Avengers, hey, Iron Man, hey, Captain America, you're going to, in your head, you know, subconsciously, you're like, oh, you know what? I kind of know what this might be about. I know how this is going to go, where this is kind of uncharted territory. So I think that that's why maybe people have their question marks about it. But
I'm glad they're not doing it on Hulu, though. Like, Hulu seems to be like where they send shows to die.
So, right?
Oh yeah.
Like, I'm glad it's not going there.
Yeah.
Well, because like Hitmonkey, everything I've heard, like that show was I've heard really positive things about it. But
about which one?
It was fantastic.
About Hitmonkey, but it still had. I mean, I feel like hardly anybody's seen. I don't know how many people have seen it. I know I haven't watched it yet, and it's because it's on Hulu.
Yep.
And I don't want to pay for another streaming service.
Yeah, same boat, man. I haven't seen it just because I don't really want to get Hulu, because there's nothing that I'm, you know, real excited about coming out on Hulu at the moment. So, you know.
But that comment there, it is a positive with Moon Knight, because if it does end up resonating with a larger audience, then it's a character where you could if you pull in just a few people, you know, if Disney they're going to have millions of viewers on this stuff. And so if you pull in 0.5%, you know, of those, that's a lot of new people that are interested. And, you know, that is a benefit of something like that, where it is a more obscure type character.
Yeah. And Oscar Isaac is, you know, he's won awards. He is A-list. I would say he's done a lot of things. So like, you know, they have a good actor in it. So we'll see. Fingers crossed. All right, let's get it going. First book, Keys to Still Invest. And again, Ryan, I don't know if you remember the list, so you know, bear with us if you know, at the start there's some book
I may
like,
say no.
what?
I may say no, I would not invest in it.
All right, well, we're gonna kick it off. One of Chris, I think Jake at Spec Tales is a big fan of this one, but I know our buddy Chris is. I know a few people actually, but oh wait, shoot, I should probably share it. I had put it already
Might
on
help.
the other list, and then I'm like, wait a minute, I didn't bring it up.
Well, if Jake likes it, then I don't like it. So.
Yeah. So we got Journey into the Mystery 102, first appearance of Hela and Balder, Thor's brother. There are rumors that Hela might be returning. There are some rumors of Balder showing up. A lot of people lately, you know, being big fans of Balder 1. There is some confusion, though, because CGC has now started putting first appearance of Balder on this one and not on Journey into the Mystery 83, I think it is. So that's something to note.
Probably not 83, but
83 or 85. I can't remember. One of the two big ones there is the one that they were saying. But
it could be 85. There's a bunch in 85, but I'm almost it's not 83.
It's like Iron Man 55. There's like a bunch of them there. But yeah, CGC is now saying that this is the first appearance.
Oh shit.
Yeah, your thoughts?
Yeah, so I did a video, I don't know, maybe like a month ago on undervalued Journey into Mystery keys. Yep. And this was one of them. Now, the tough part with this book is that I think it's undervalued with respect to other big keys within the Journey into Mystery run. It hasn't had, over the last year, it hasn't had the types of moves that the other ones have. Now, the downside is there that catalyst to drive the prices up on this book? And like you said, I mean, if it's something like Balder, if there's some character that does, you know, because Hela's dead, and I think this is Sif's first appearance too, right?
I believe so. Yeah.
And so even though they've never killed Sif on screen, like they don't seem to be bringing her back. So that's the question. I think
she's coming back in Love and Thunder. Apparently.
Okay. All right. Cool. She dodged a bullet because she wasn't able to be in that. Because I think they were planning on killing all of them when Hela came through the the gate,
I thought that was the original plan,
and she was working on something else in the movie,
right?
And she's like, you know, she's like, yes, still in the MCU.
Seriously.
But yeah, so I like this book as a key regardless. I think it is a good book at this point, you know, based on current prices to buy. It may not have something that's necessarily going to cause the prices to jump, but I do like this book. It's Journey into Mystery is a little thin on keys, and this is one of the pretty good ones, and it's a multi-key there, like you said, or you know, if Balder's being classified in there now, you've got Hela and Sif, which are the two main ones that I usually correlate with this book. So yeah, I would definitely recommend looking at this book at the current prices.
Yeah, with Hela and Sif alone, I like this book. You know, because you know I'm a fan of Thor as a character, and all of the lore that goes into that character. So, you know, I like Sif, Hela. You know, they're good supporting characters, good villain. Balder being his first being in this, that's kind of, yeah, I didn't know about that, but okay, I guess. I don't know why they changed it, but hey, whatever.
Maybe they opened the book and they were like, oh shit.
Yeah, maybe.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, this is like Ryan said, this one's kind of always been a little undervalued, so it's definitely its
cover hurts it.
Yeah,
none of them are on
it
the
really
cover.
does. It really does. But you know, it's a solid key. I don't necessarily think that it's going to blow up at it, you know, at any point necessarily, and you're going to see huge spikes, but it'll always increase over time. I mean, you know, it's one of those classics, so you can't go wrong with it.
Yeah, I think the one that like really hurts it, like the one thing that really hurts like Journey into the Mystery is like just a lot of their covers. Same with this one. Like I would love to have this book. It was a little cheaper, like say a few months ago, but I mean you could say they're about a lot of books. But yeah, I just think that they could touch on it. I mean, with a lot of people already specking on like these different ways and forms of like Odin, or like if Thor gets like the Odin this or that, you know, the family concept. I think that they could go about this route. You know, even like his first solo series is like $1 book. You can get them for like basically nothing. These ones, I mean, I would probably stay away from eBay. All these sold prices are from eBay. But when I do go into certain shops, like when I went off with Ozzy and those guys to shop, and we went to Barry, the one shop did have two of these. I think they were like 5.0s and 4.0s. I mean, he had them pretty priced out, well priced out. He had them at like, I think like $400 Canadian, 450, somewhere around there. So like comparatively to eBay, I mean, you're saving almost like $300. So definitely a good key. But yeah, I just think that this one could be one of those books that you say like later, and it's okay because you might be able to get it a little bit cheaper. The next Thor project is when, or Guardians of the Galaxy? Do we know?
Love and Thunder.
Well, Love and Thunder is the next one, which is I think late next year.
Yeah, I thought it was like July, or is that July?
I don't remember when. I'm gonna be honest. I have
They
no
moved
idea. I don't
everything, right?
remember
They
when it's
delayed
coming
everything.
out.
Things
3
got
months.
shifted. I
Yeah,
don't know
they
if I can
delayed everything
find it.
3 months. So like I can't remember. I just remember that it was like Morbius was supposed to come out January 28th, and then like the next movie was supposed to be March, and then they moved. So like yeah, it's just all up in the air, I guess. But yeah, I think you got some
It says
time.
July. It says July 8th. So maybe it is still July.
All right,
Oh,
we'll
okay.
see. All right, let's shift gears here. Amazing Spider-Man 129. This is a fan favorite for everybody. I don't even have to tell you that this is the first appearance of Jackal. You should already know, okay? But most importantly, first appearance of Punisher. Ryan, this is one of your favorites.
Now, I will caveat that I have sold my copies recently, but it doesn't. That's one of the things that I always have to kind of tell people. It's like when I'm selling books, it doesn't always mean that I wouldn't also buy the book back if I found it at a decent price. And this is one of those where if I found it again, I'd buy it back. But for me, I'm always selling books, and so I have to kind of pick and choose which ones I keep. And the reason why. What I've kind of started doing is I've been selling more of my like bronze and silver books because I know I can get them back. Even if I have to pay more later, it doesn't really bother me. I know I can get them. And so I've been keeping more of the Golden Age stuff. So this book has come down quite a bit from where it was, like everything else peaked earlier this year or I guess 2021. And it's one of the top tier Bronze Age books. I mean, so if you can get this one to me at a discount from prices where it was before, I would still buy it. So it's definitely a book that I'm keeping an eye out for. I kind of want to get a higher grade copy, and so that's part of what I'm looking out for. But yeah, I think this is a great book. I think it's in the highest grades. I still think it's cheap compared to some of the other big Bronze Age keys. I mean, it's not quite at the level of like I don't know, like a Hulk 181 or a Giant Size X-Men 1, but still the 9/8s are still comparatively affordable compared to, I mean, they're still tens of thousands of dollars, but comparatively affordable to some of those other big Bronze Age keys. So yeah, I mean, with this one coming down from those peaks and the potential that we're going to see this character again or more or in the actual MCU instead of the Netflix version, I would never say don't buy this book if you see it at a reasonable price, a fair market value price. I think it's a great book to pick up. It is one of my favorite covers, especially when it's one of those books where you can get color variation in the red, where sometimes it's like an orange and it's not fading. It's just how it printed. Sometimes it's an orange, sometimes it's a deep red, and the deep red ones are the ones that I'm always looking for. They look so good, so much better with that red on the yellow.
Yeah, I mean, even without any MCU spec or anything like that, I mean, this is the first appearance of the Punisher. This is a fucking grail, so you'll never go wrong with adding it to your collection. And it's not necessarily a bad time because there's not a whole lot of huge news going on with the Punisher as far as like the MCU. Of course, there is the news of the new series coming out, and I mean that's spiked a little bit of interest in the Punisher and everything like that. But this is down from where it was last year a little bit. So but it's one of those books that's going to always kind of continually rise over time. Again, it is a classic grail. So
you got Kingpin, you got Daredevil now. I think it's only a matter of time before you get Punisher. I mean, they're clearly starting to build and have different worlds happen, but they're clearly starting to build that street level stuff. I think it's just a matter of time. And, this being an iconic cover, I mean, usually you would talk to people and ask them like, hey man, if you could have 5 books, where, what would they be? I mean, maybe top 10. A lot of people had this book. I'd say like 90% of people always wanted this book. Unless you were like crazy into Gold Age, then you would just name off like 9 Golden Age books. But this one usually is one that a lot of people talk about. Punisher is badass. I have a chance to buy one. I'm kind of holding back because Ryan said no, it's a little too much, so I'm holding back. But yeah, you can't go wrong with having Punisher. I think once he shows up, I mean, this thing's going to explode. And it's Bronze Age. I mean, it's up there with Giant Size X-Men and Hulk 181. So yeah, why not get the trifecta of the bronze? But yeah, this is definitely a book. Still has a lot of meat on the bone. Again, we kind of see it, right? Like the prices could be whatever they are, but once this character shows up, I mean, let's look at Moon Knight, right? How much did Moon Knight go up? And that was just like, I mean, nobody get mad if you're a crazy Moon Knight fan, but like Moon Knight is not an A or B list character, right? Let's just be honest.
I mean, it was a very cheap book,
right?
Yeah. Werewolf by Night 32 is a very cheap book. Even when it was like expensive, like I was talking to Newbie about this earlier today. Like I had a 9.2 of that book that I bought in 2020 for $1,700. It's like that book is now, I've sold it since then, but that book is now over $7,000. I mean, you got to look at those, and 1,700 felt like a lot when I bought it. I mean, so yeah, I mean, you never know what's going to happen with some of this stuff. This one, I mean, the difference is that this is already there are a lot more of them out there.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of demand for it, but so it's already comparatively expensive. I mean, it's a lot of money for someone to spend on a book. I mean, even like a 1.8 is going to cost you about $1,000.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a book that it's gotten to the point where it just doesn't get below a certain price. It doesn't matter how crappy that book looks. You're going to pay about $1,000 for it.
Yeah.
If you can get a raw copy for less than that, buy it. I would 100%. If somebody's selling a raw, no matter what the condition is, if it's under $1,000, I'd buy that book.
Ryan, would you get this one or FF48?
I'd probably buy this one in the near term. I think we're more likely to see Punisher in the near term than we're going to see Galactus or Silver Surfer. This is my opinion, but I think we probably will see Galactus or Silver Surfer at some point, especially because I finally got around to watching.
Yeah,
Eternals,
I was going to say, I was waiting.
And I watched it this weekend, and I mean, personally, I hated it. Like I hated that movie. I thought it was terrible.
He's not lying, folks. He's not lying.
I thought the coolest scene in the movie was when Arishem, if I'm pronouncing that wrong, Asherim or
I think you got it right. I think
when he like appeared and you saw him like on the horizon from Earth, that was awesome. And that had like those Galactus vibes. That's where it's like that's how we should have seen Galactus in that Fantastic Four too. And that was an incredible scene. But in general, I didn't like the movie.
But that shows that they can do Galactus right. So if they fuck him up again, there's no forgiveness.
Get Cloud Galactus again.
Yeah, we're not forgiving them if they fuck it up again.
Man, I woke up today to like Ryan just basically ranting about. I saw the movie and it was shit and it was this and I was like I was concerned.
Terrible.
Yeah, I was concerned because I'm like, hey, what happened? Like, was there a breakup in the group or did something? And then I wake up to like, his critique of the movie.
I think that was Monday because I watched it Sunday.
Monday,
I watched it Sunday night. I started at like 1 a.m, and so I'm just like, I just invested like 2.5 hours into this. I got nothing out of it.
Oh yeah, it's terrible. Yeah, I think
it definitely changed up some character. Basically, they changed up some fucking character profiles in the Eternals.
Well, I mean, my main problem with it wasn't like how they did it, the movie or anything. My problem was it was like I really felt like it added like nothing. Like, I mean, I know some people have said like, oh, it's building that universe, but not really, not much more than we already had with Guardians of the Galaxy. We already knew Celestials were out there. We'd seen a Celestial head. They fly around in it.
It basically expanded like what the Celestials do and their mission is, but that's really
yeah. I mean, you
the
it's
big
like I was like
reveal.
somebody could have given me the like crib notes, and it would have been like 2 sentences of what it added. You know, it's like we have we have cosmic energy now, you know, like, and the Celestials
Eternal Head sticking out of the fucking planet.
destroy planets to make more Celestials. It's like, and Pip looks like garbage. That's
yeah.
Pip did kind of look like shit, man. Like, what the hell? They really honed it in on him.
Yeah.
It's very fresh in my mind right now.
That. I haven't seen it yet, but yeah, there's a lot of, you know, critics out now, especially now with it being on Disney Plus, that a lot of people are like, hey, remember this used to be garbage, and you know, the conversation is still up there. So we'll see. They're
like, we never should have put this on Disney Plus.
All right, Ryan, this one I'm a little confused, and here's why. Because you were, I think, on the opposite side of this when we were talking about it, but Avengers 8, I mean, you can't go wrong with it, even if it's a personal, you know, a PC book. You're talking about Avengers 8, super early, obviously. I don't have to teach anybody about numbers because 8 is the 8th number. Early Avengers. You got the first appearance of Kang, who we're going to be seeing probably multiple times. We're not going to just finish seeing him in Ant-Man, which comes out, I think, at the end of this year. But yeah, Kang is going to be around for a little bit. I think he's probably going to have the same structure and kind of the same story as, say, a Thanos, where he's just going to show up in a few videos, a few movies, and then kind of do his thing. But yeah, this one I'm interested to hear your reasoning. But yeah.
Well, I mean, for me, it's all about, I mean, with a book like this, it's all about price, buy-in price, you know, and I thought what this book was going for when he appeared, you know, for that like month or so after Loki ended. I mean, this book went nuts. I mean, up like 300 or 400%. And so that's where I have a problem with that book. It got way too expensive, way too fast. And so now it's come back. It's done that the normal, you know, comic collector speculator type thing. You know, it's like people have had other shows since then. People have kind of forgotten about it a little bit, but he's going to be back, and he's probably going to be back multiple times for a few years. And so this is when that book has come down significantly, and I've bought 2 or 3 copies of it now. I mean, that's with this type of book, that's what I like to do. You know, you see those big spikes, and then you see it fall between his appearances, and you can buy that book and it will do it again. I've seen the same things with, and I mentioned this yesterday when I was talking with you and Chris and Jake about Guardians of the Galaxy, their first appearance in Marvel Superheroes 18. I bought a copy of that last night, and because it always goes up with the movies, and then it falls in the middle, you know. And so I that's a book that I like to, it follows that same trend, and I feel like this is going to be the same thing.
Yeah, this one right now is definitely all about pricing, because I mean, you know, it is kind of like on a little bit of a dip right now, because kind of out of our face for the moment, and people are getting excited about other projects and everything like that. So you see the numbers going down just a little bit over where people, you know, they were when people were really excited about Kang. But at the same time, he's not that far forgotten. So there are still a lot of people out there that have these, you know, at really high prices trying to get the max that they can. So, you know, it's one of those things. You find a good deal on it, for sure. It's one that's worth snatching up. You know, just whether you want to add it to your collection, or if you're looking at it as something that you could potentially flip later into, you know, an investment into a bigger book or something like that. It's all about timing and pricing right now for this one.
Yeah, I think you can't go wrong with it. And I always talk about, you know, like Moon Knight, for example, right? Like, it was announced the show is coming. Like, we knew. It's not like we're surprised. Like, they literally said, hey, Moon Knight is coming. So we knew. So people should have been buying that stuff way before. And now a trailer drops, and then that's when people buy, right? And it's just, it goes back to, you know, we know it's coming, but until it's in our face, we don't really, you know, people don't panic. They panic right when they see the trailer. And I think that that's what's going to happen with this character 100%. I think, you know, people just forget as soon as it's done, because we live in a society now where it's like, what's next? What's next? What's next? And sometimes, you know, we forget to like maybe hold on to a few things. So yeah, this is definitely, if you can find it at a good price, definitely a good deal to get for sure. And you can't go wrong with it. I mean, it's one of the biggest bad guys.
Well, I can say you could go wrong with it if you were the person who bought it in July.
Yeah. If you bought it in
that was
July.
probably a
Yeah,
wrong
those
person.
max prices. Ooh.
Yeah.
Like it peaked hard. It was like
it really did.
Yeah.
But
So
I saw a comment on there about what if Giant says X-Men 1, Hulk 181, and ASM 129 are the Bronze Age Grail trifecta. What are the DC version? I don't think there's a DC equivalent. I mean, I don't think there's a Bronze Age set of DC books that get anywhere near the prices, like the demand
not
as
prices.
those. Because I mean, the thing with DC is it had been around for so long. It's like the Silver Age for DC is effectively the Bronze Age for Marvel. I mean, that's kind of how it goes, just because like you're already in, it's like what you're in Batman 200s by that point. You're in Tech 400s by that point. I mean, you are so deep into these runs that there's not a ton of keys in there. Like I was trying to, like when I saw that, I was trying to think of like, what are the Batman keys in the Bronze Age? And it's like, I think, you've got Ra's al Ghul, Talia al Ghul, like Batman 251 for the Joker cover.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't even.
that's the only one I had in my mind. I was like, okay, the Joker cover.
I don't
That's
even know
the
if I
only
can
one
think of like a Superman key. I'd have to think about it. Like from the Bronze Age.
That'd be
I mean,
fucking
you've got
rough.
like
Green Lantern
2000, you got like 2,000 issues to pick from. So
you've got Green Lantern 87, like First John Stewart. There's something, but like those books don't go for
they're not just not the same
$100,000,
right?
Yeah. Action Comics 252.
That's Silver Age.
And you would know I'm not. Specsman is saying Batman 423 is a Bronze Age Grail in DC.
And that's the thing. And in a 9.8, that's a $2,000 book.
It's still not saying those
That,
it's not the same when you're talking
near
about
the same
Marvel.
level.
Yeah. Well, all right, let's go on to the next key. And Ryan, this is one of my favorite books. I'm currently trying to buy this one. So please don't hype it up too much where we tell people.
I will actually be knocking it down because
okay, perfect.
It's not a book that I personally. So I'm helping you out.
All right, I'll let you go first.
Maybe you can get it cheaper. But my reasoning is just that the kind of the question mark that is the Black Panther character right now, and so I mean, yeah, it's an iconic book. It's an important first appearance, but we can't look past the fact that appearances in movies, appearances in shows really do move prices. And I don't know when we're going to see a version of the Black Panther again on screen. And so, I mean, it might move up some with the movies just based on the name, or from Wakanda, that kind of thing. But it's not a book that I personally, I mean, if I found one at a good price, I would still buy it. It's a big enough key. It's like, if I found it at a discount to fair market value right now, I'm going to buy that book, but it's not a book I'm actively out there searching for.
Yeah. I'm pretty much with you on, I think pretty much every point that you hit. I mean, Black Panther is a great character. He is 100%. And this book's always, it's another one. It's a classic Grail that's always going to go up in price. But with the passing of Chadwick Boseman and everything, and him not being recast in the MCU, the big spikes on this particular character from that part of the universe probably won't be as much as they would as, say, if he were playing in the movie, whenever Black Panther 2 came out and everything like that. It's going to be spread out to more of those Wakandan characters that people are getting interested in, as they expand the MCU side of that universe. It's always going to gain value, and there still will be spikes. They just won't be as big of spikes as they would be. So ultimately, this book is one of those ones that you want to pick it up if it's one that you're a fan of the character and you want to add it to your collection to, hold on to wherever, I guess. There's definitely, investment value in it because, like I said, it is a Grail that will always continue to go up in price. It's just not huge. It's not like it would be with, the other MCU appearances and everything like that. So
I think everybody's so hung up on the fact that, like, oh, Chadwick Boseman is not going to play the role. However, if we get another Black Panther, I think that's where it could happen. Now, I don't want to speculate too much, but I mean, with the multiverse being, what it is now, where they could just come and pick any universe or any character, I don't think it's out of the realm where they could like maybe get a different version or something. You know what I mean? Like
That's 100% possible. It's like you had three, or multiple versions of Peter Parker.
Exactly.
I mean, it's like so
I
yeah.
think that's possible.
Yeah,
and I mean, I personally think that depending on what happens in this next movie will dictate if they continue that. I mean, they could just be like, wow, this got so bad reviews, or it didn't, live up to the hype. And then maybe they just kind of retire the character. That could also happen. So the book could go. But again, nevertheless, here's the issue with it right now. There's still meat on the bone because the movie's still going to come out. And when the movie does come out, this is still going to, rise in price for a little bit. So, I mean, buy now to make a little bit, but at the same time, it could see a dip. I just think that, it's going to resonate as one of those iconic characters because, we did see him play that, in the Avengers and Civil War and things like that. So I think this one's going to hold a special place in people's, hearts and in the collection, just simply because, it could be one of those retired characters that we might not see until the reboot, like 20 years from now, right?
Yeah, I mean, think about it kind of like Moon Knight. I mean, Black Panther was not, again, not a, outside of comic collectors, was not a character that I think many people were really familiar with. And he became a, like a well-known character, a very popular character. And so I'm sure you have people that weren't buying comics, potentially buying that comic. When you have millions of people watching movies, that's going to happen.
Yeah. Black Panther, when I bought it for the first time in a 3.5 was $150 Canadian.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Like it wasn't an expensive book.
No.
And so, I don't think it's I don't think it's a bad book to buy, but I don't see something that's going to drive it up. Now, like you said, there are possibilities, multiverse is all, can always do that. And they can always end up deciding they want to recast. That can happen.
Hey, it worked for Fast and the Furious.
Yeah. I am not. I really can't speak to that.
I'm just kidding. I said that to somebody, being like, "Remember the first appearance of Fast and the Furious went up, even at," and then people are like, "Wait, what?" And I was like, "It's just a joke, like bad one." But yeah.
I assume you were talking about recasting somebody in one of the Fast and the Furious.
Oh, that's what I thought he was talking about too.
Oh my gosh! Oh, look who shows up. Omega Reed. No, I'm just kidding. What's going on, Jake? One half of the Spec Tales podcast. Make sure you guys go check them out every Wednesday morning. I've been on there. Ryan's been
Don't listen to anything Jake says.
Jake's got a question though. He says, "But should we be investing in this book as an NFT?"
Oh, man, I have no fucking idea. I don't know anything about NFTs.
That's just a different conversation. All right, let's move on.
Yeah, that would take some research.
All right, next book. And I told Jake on his podcast that this would be on my Grail list, but then I had to take it off very quickly, just simply because I didn't do my research on this book. So this is Fantastic Four #2, second appearance of Fantastic Four, and first appearance of the Skrulls. But I didn't do my research because there's not many copies of this in really good condition, and it's not cheap. So
I was wondering why you had to take it off, because I was like, this feels like a pretty solid addition.
Yeah, no, it's just,
right.
Yeah. It's pretty expensive for where it is. So
yeah. No, I've it's one of those. I had a pretty nice copy of it. It was like a 5 or a 5.5 at one point. Kind of wish I had it back, but I mean, it is what it is. It's I do like this book. I think that it's one of those where it's not really a speculation buy. It is. I think it will go up as they continue to use the Skrulls in the MCU, but I don't think it's not immune to moves with movies, but it hasn't had any like really big jumps because of it. You would almost think you'd see more jumps with this book because of how much they've used the Skrulls and teased the Skrulls, but you really haven't. I mean, it's comparatively to other big keys, comparatively, it really hasn't. And so you can look at that two ways. You can look at that as, if you can find this book, it's probably pretty well worth buying. you know, like that it has the potential, and it's not a high risk buy. You know, it's Fantastic Four #2. You know, people are always going to want, at least within say like a 10 or 20 year time frame, people are always going to want to have this book. It's, you know, second Fantastic Four, first Skrulls. Skrulls are on the cover, which is great. And I'm not a huge fan of the cover itself. I'm not.
Yeah, that high ceiling house, like that's matte.
Yeah, it's not the best looking cover.
No.
Whereas like FF1 and FF3, I really like the covers for those. But this one seems like kind of a miss to me. But yeah, I would, if you found this book around fair market value, under fair market value, I would buy this book. I think it is never a risky book to pick up.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah. I mean, it's Fantastic Four #2. I mean, shit. It's one of those books that I would fucking die to have it in my collection, you know, just because it's such an early run Fantastic Four. I mean, you just rarely come across them, and when you do, they're trashed. And like Ryan said, you're gonna pay regardless because they're so hard to find.
Well, and it had a pin, like a thing pin up in it. I think that's what it is, and it's gone a lot. There are a lot of 0.5 copies of this book.
What do you mean a thing pin?
Like a thing pin up, like like a page. It's like always, it's like page 12 or something is always missing from that book. And so I think there's quite a few qualified copies and 0.5s. You'll see a lot of 0.5s.
Yeah, so I mean,
the Specsman comment is making me laugh.
By aliens and just posting up.
He's just like reaching out, you know. He's like, oh, just at the shoulder. He's like trying to like get him to
busy doing science.
And like, why is he like at the window? Like the door is right there. Like they drew the door. Like you'd think he would come through the door. Like who has that big of a window open? Like just so much.
It's a weird cover. It really is.
Yeah. I really like this book. I mean, I think a lot of people will, you know, those second appearances, especially for like, you know, the first family here. I think once Fantastic Four does hit, I mean, it's kind of goodbye for a lot of books. I mean, like if you think Fantastic Four 5 and you know, what's another one? I mean, obviously 1 are hard to find now or affordable. I mean, just wait until they show up. I mean, you're probably not going to see those books ever. Thing is here, I mean, there's still enough bones. I mean, I'm looking at the 2.0 there that sold for, you know, let's call it 2,200 Canadian. I mean, I think that's a good price. I think, you know, if it were to hit, I mean, there's still a bit of money to be made there. And again, with the Skrulls, I mean, the Skrulls are going to have a big future in the MCU. So, you know, you never know when they're going to kind of play out. I can't remember what issue Super Skrull is. I think it's 18. Wow, way off. So I mean that's another one that could be, but we've talked about that one as well. I mean the Skrulls have a future, second appearance. I think
that's an expensive book now too, and it is also very difficult to find outside of garbage condition.
Yeah, I think the highest I've seen is like any of those. I've never seen anything higher than a 3, and this one I've never seen at any show. I've never seen at any con. I've never seen this book. I've never held this book. Nothing. The only times I've ever seen this is on eBay or, you know, auction sites or, you know, people who have it are trying to sell it on IG. That's it.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I can't remember ever having come across this in, you know, a shop or a convention either, to be honest.
Yeah, it is. It is also the last 10 cent.
I did not know that. Wow. I have a thing pin up in my bedroom. Okay. All right.
Thing pin up.
Yeah. All right. Ryan, I'm interested to see what you say about this one, because somebody purchased one of these right there.
Yeah, I think I told you I thought it was a good book too.
Yeah, I put mine there. Actually, the bottom one that's mine. Yeah. So Tales of Suspense 40. Any Iron Man fan knows what this book is, but this is obviously the second appearance of Iron Man. Changes the armor too. You got the gold there. It's not the greatest cover. Mine is a 1.8, but they're still affordable, especially those second appearances on iconic characters. I mean, Iron Man is the one that kind of kicked everything off, so you're welcome. He also snapped for everybody, so you're welcome. Relatively cheap, especially if you can't get 39. And I say that because, you know, when you compare the first appearance to second appearance, that first appearance it's pretty pricey. So this is a good alternative.
It's crazy. This book specifically is crazy how cheap it is comparatively to the first appearance.
Yeah.
I mean, so I mean, I've seen this over and over and over again with Silver Age keys. The second appearance sells for approximately 10 times less. It's just, I mean, it's almost across the board. There are a couple exceptions, that kind of thing. But this one, it's like 20. It's so much less. And the cover is not great.
No.
Gargantus on there is I'm not a fan of the Gargantus cover.
He looks like a gym teacher of mine with like the scarlet look there. Yeah.
But I mean, and so I think that maybe hurts it a little bit, but it's so strange that almost every other book, it's almost like clockwork, where it's like 10 times less. You can just it's a pretty solid rule of thumb if you want to know what the price is for a second appearance. But this one, it doesn't work. It's so much less, and maybe it'll catch up over time. That could say like it's maybe a little undervalued compared to other big keys. But yeah, I always feel like this book, it's such a good alternative because of how expensive 39 is, that if you want to have something that's like a substantial key for Iron Man, I think this is a solid book to buy.
Yeah, I mean, I got to agree with Ryan. If I'm an Iron Man fan, Tales of Suspense 39, is probably priced out for most people, because it's a huge book. So this would probably be the one that I would want to go after. It's a second appearance. You're not going to get closer to the first without probably donating a fucking Orion. And it's like Ryan said, it's highly undervalued for that second appearance. Again, cover. I mean, if you're into Gargantos's ass, hey, cool. It's not my thing, but so not the best cover, but I mean, you can't go wrong. There's not really a better time to buy. There's not a lot going on with Iron Man in the MCU right now. Unfortunately, he's kind of dead. So, a lot of people are kind of a little bit off of Iron Man right now. So, it's probably on a little bit of a low, you see. So, but eventually they're going to do, you would think, something that's going to make this book spike again, because it'll just drive interest towards Iron Man. We know Armor Wars is coming, so that'll probably drive a little bit of interest back to it.
Ironheart,
hugely, because it's not, obviously he's not going to be there, but it is featuring those type of characters, so people get interested again. You might see a little bit of spike,
and it reminds people,
the best time to buy.
When someone's called Iron Man or Ironheart, it reminds people.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think it's got more potential, and I don't say that on a biased level, just simply because of like what Face said, to piggyback off what he said, Armor Wars and the Ironheart stuff. Like, you got to think that they're gonna touch back on him, whether it be and again, people are quick to judge, right? I mean, I know YouTubers that a year ago were like, man, grab this Iron Man first AI, it's gonna be this, and now there's the same people are like, no, sell it, it's not worth anything, forget it. But it's like, but that's literally how we're going to get Tony Stark next, and like in flashbacks and things like that. So like, it's still a good book to have. I think those books will make this one in 39 a little bit. I mean, let's face it, 39 is a blue chip. I mean, if there was a nuclear bomb, it would still, kind of last. It would hold its value. But this one I just had to have, just simply because it pushes me to get 39 even more now. So we'll see. Newbie currently cuddles with this exact book on his couch.
Hell yeah. And fucking
I wouldn't be surprised. So. I wouldn't be surprised if that statement
and
was
congratulations accurate. On the fucking pickup, bro. That's awesome.
Thanks, man. You know what? It meant more to me because I got a good deal from somebody who saw my post on Instagram and said, hey man, you looking for this? I said, yes. And he said, this isn't a book that like just anybody gets, right? Like it's, right. Obviously a fan of the character. So he gave me a good deal. He was able to work with me really well. It was, the shipping and everything. He's in the States. Like, it worked out really well. And like I said, he gave me a good deal, packaged really well. And awesome. Yeah, man, I couldn't have asked for a better buyer. Just had to make it. But this book is
complimenting yourself.
No.
He meant seller, I'm sure.
Listen, it's more.
I was so good.
It holds a certain value now because it's literally a book that I got by the hobby paying for itself with like just flips that I did. So like essentially I got this book for free. And that's what I always try to tell people. Like there's so many avenues that you could take to get these big grails or to get these big books. You just, have to do a little bit of moving and stuff like that. So goodbye, horrendous cover. Man, get out of here. I couldn't ask for a better buyer. I was the
right.
Oh, sorry. I meant the seller. I meant to say the seller.
See,
I couldn't.
I knew where he was going with it.
Yeah, and I'm not even drinking alcohol tonight. That's. Whew.
So no excuse.
I would have gotten a better price for you. Yeah, Cruz, you probably would have got a better price for me. I don't know how to be PG. Oh God, but yeah, this is definitely a book. One just sold this weekend. My comic shop just had their Prime sale, the Prime week, and they had a 2.5, and it went for I think like $675 US. So still cheaper.
That's really not bad though. I mean, like fucking Tales of Suspense 40.
Yeah, the early Tales of Suspense, like I mean 40, 41, 42 is I think the first Happy Hogan. That one might be a little. I think that's 42. I don't remember. Might be 45. But those first couple are pretty cheap. I mean, it's in there, and like there are actually some good covers in there too.
Not this one, but
like,
yeah,
like 39.
better than this one.
Like 39 is great. So
no, 39. I love that cover. I think that is a great.
I like
cover.
that cover too.
Right? And again, I do like to remind everyone, if you do have a Tales of Suspense 39 and you want to A-OK it, just direct message me, Newbie Comics on Instagram. Okay. All right, Ryan. This one's an interesting pick, but then when I started thinking about it, kind of makes sense.
I think I recommended this one.
Yeah, you did. We are gonna see this character. I mean, at the last time we saw this character, he was in jail and kind of made a comment about, who Spider-Man was. He wants to know who because he thinks the guy that plays Vulture knows, right? He said, "Oh, I know who it is, but I'm not going to tell you." So this is going to be interesting. We didn't see him in the Sinister 6 stuff that we were supposed to get, but yeah, first appearance of Scorpion.
Yeah. So, I mean, I just picked up a copy of this book recently. It was, I think, in my last unboxing video. And so I think this is well, first of all, early Spider-Man keys are, as long as you're kind of like somewhere around fair market value, they are not ever, in my opinion, bad books to buy. I mean, Amazing Spider-Man, he is the king of the Silver Age and basically comics in general. Yeah. And so going for key books, they tend to kind of like, they trickle up over time pretty much regardless. So you're never really, it's never a risk really with buying those books. But I do think that this one, because that we've seen him in that Sony Spider-Man universe, and we know we've seen him as Mac Gargan, and we know who he turns into. I feel like the likelihood of us getting him in the future is very high. And so I think that is just a bonus with the book. And that's what I look at with books like this, like ASM 15, First Craven. I mean, yeah, it's a big Spider-Man key, and it has a bonus that you have movies coming out that are dedicated to that character. And so that's why I do like, I like this book. I think a lot of these have come down from those peaks. And so I think if you see those where they've dropped from those peaks and you can get them around, fair market value, go for it. I think it's just a low risk purchase.
Yeah, I mean, again, early run Spider-Man, you can't go wrong for sure. And first appearance of a character, like Scorpion is always a nice pickup to add to the PC. He's not huge like Green Goblin for Spidey, but he's still a really important villain through, Spider-Man's history and everything like that. So I love this book, just from a collector's aspect and everything like that. As far as MCU, I personally would love to see like the next Spider-Man movie just kind of be more, I would say, like Spider-Man centric, and kind of maybe take a little step back from how big the Spider-Man movies have been, and so, just do some like world building in Spider-Man. And I think actually, the storyline with J. Jonah Jameson, hiring Matt Gargan and turning him into the Scorpion and everything like that, and maybe doing some stuff to introduce Oscorp and everything else, around Spidey would probably be a good storyline for them to do next, and sort of build his whole, his universe that he's got going on there. So that it's not so heavily dependent on everything else that's going on in the MCU and everything like that. Like, we won't have to have Doctor Strange show up every time, or fucking Iron Man or whatever. He can carry his own shit. So I would love to see it. Now, whether they'll do that or not, who knows? But yeah, early run Spider-Man, you can't go fucking wrong adding this to your collection.
There's so much money for them to tie in that other stuff that it's tough probably for them to, because like he's what Sony has. I mean,
Right,
it's like
right.
they have to leverage him.
He's also
as
the
much as
last
possible.
one, right? Because we've seen all the other villains, like the original ones, right? I mean,
Most
for
part,
God's
we've
sake.
seen a lot
I mean,
of
we
them,
haven't
yeah.
seen Craven yet.
No, but
Yeah,
we know
no.
that he's coming, right? Like, they've confirmed, they've got the casting, like he's coming. So like with that one confirmed, it's like, okay, check mark. So which one are we missing? It's Scorpion. And the fact that, a lot of people forget that he was in that second movie and he meets Vulture in jail. Like, they wouldn't have just dropped
That's
him.
the main reason I like this, is that they
Right, that little
have
scene
him
right
meeting
there.
these characters.
Yeah.
Yep.
And especially if you're going to have 3 more Spider-Man movie, like, you would think that he would at least show, like, you got a 1 in 3 chance that he shows up. Why not get it? Nobody talks about it. The only thing that I never really liked about this one is he always reminds me of Reptile in Mortal Kombat. I don't know why. And every time I think of Rhino,
What's wrong with that?
I think of this like giant dude in like tight gray pants. In this situation, I think of like just Lululemon green. So we did see Rhino, remember? We saw it in Andrew Garfield's.
And it was awful.
And it was awful.
Awful.
But he did
It's like
show
the-
up.
Oh God.
We technically
Yeah.
got Rhino. So I like this pick. I really do. And again, it's early Spider-Man. You can't go wrong with it. I'd probably be a player at like a 4.0, but I don't think that those prices are still there for like under $1,000. But
it's one of those books that is pretty uncommon in good condition. I don't know why. I don't know what it is about it, but it just there are not a lot of them that are in really nice condition, like the 6s and above.
Yeah,
that's a great early Spider-Man cover too.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's good. All right, let's get into one of Ryan's recommendations here. So we got X-Men number 4, first appearance of Quicksilver, Scarlet Witch, and then it's like the Brotherhood of
Evil Mutants.
There we
And
go.
Toad.
And
The
Right.
the awesome character from X-Men.
That's the most important one right there.
God. We've seen Scarlet Witch. We were going to see her again. She's still an original somewhat character, in the last little bit. Obviously, with the show, there's probably going to be a season 2. She's clearly in Doctor Strange 2. Quicksilver, who knows? But definitely 2 prominent characters.
Also, second appearance of Magneto. I mean,
Right,
and
yeah.
and it's there's a few things. I mean, one, this is one of my favorite books. I love this cover, and with respect to cover, and I like multi-keys. I like books that have lots of things going on in them.
Yeah.
But I really like the red covers. The from the
more of an
early-
orangey though, no?
Well, it's like a sunburst, so
Yeah.
they've got like red covers and they've got like these sunburst covers. This one reminds me of, there's some early Batman covers that have this type of look to them.
Mhm.
I really like those. And so I think it's an awesome looking cover. It's a great key. And just like with Loki in Journey to Mystery 85, this book has fallen off pretty hard after, what was the name of that show? Now I'm even blanking on the name of the show.
WandaVision.
After WandaVision ended. And like you said, it's a character we know we're getting more of Scarlet Witch. Plus, we're going to eventually get X-Men in general. And so it's a big key just for the fact that it's Magneto's second appearance. It's very early X-Men. And so, again, with a book that has come down significantly, I think it is a great book to have in your collection regardless, and has the potential to have events that will cause it to go up. Because if you don't think books like this can spike from shows, and that, I mean, this book went up a lot with Scarlet Witch. I mean, I bought my 5.0, I think, for like 1,300 before the show started, and I think it got up somewhere around 45, maybe $5,000. Yeah, I mean, and so that's where that I think some people think that you can't have these big moves in price in really big keys, and you can have hundreds of percent increases in the values of some of these books over short periods. You do, if you're planning on selling, which I was never really planning on selling this book, so I still have mine. But if you're planning on selling, you can take advantage of those situations. If you just want to have it to keep it, then now is a good time to buy it because they've come down quite a bit from where they were.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest. The entire list of books that we've went over tonight have been great books to add to your PC and everything like that. But this one I think has more like reasons involved in it that it will be a good book, and you will see spice with it than probably any other book that we've talked about tonight. Because obviously Scarlet Witch is a staple of the MCU right now, and we know she's coming back. We know she's going to play big parts in what's going on down the road and everything like that. So that's fantastic in itself. But the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants too, like they're such a staple for the X-Men and everything. Like they're going to be coming there too, and that's going to be huge whenever it finally hits the MCU. So obviously the Scarlet Witch, every time she comes back, you'll see those fucking spikes and everything like that, with this book being her first appearance and everything. But when the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants hits too, and you see Magneto forming his little group and everything, which I think we will definitely see.
Plus, this is a really good Magneto cover. I like how he's drawn on this cover, because X-Men 5 is a terrible Magneto cover. If you ever look at that cover, it is just there are some misses, and that's one of them.
Yeah, for sure.
Do you think that maybe this one, like, I like to think that Scarlet Witch, I mean, she's clearly going a little darker in the sense of like her role and stuff like that, where she could maybe essentially be the villain, which is what a lot of people are kind of like, saying. Do you think that kind of maybe hurts the book at all, or is it still gonna, even?
I mean, she's a villain in this, like she is a villain. It's I don't think so with this one. The other big reason is because it's Magneto. There are certain, that is true in my, I agree with a lot of villains. That is true. But there are certain villains that defy that. And it's like Doctor Doom and Magneto are probably the two biggest, maybe Kingpin, it's like those like premier Hallmark villains are the ones that will defy the tanks in price after they show up in a show or a movie.
Yeah. This one's interesting because I remember this one, just exploded with the show. And again, we're going to get it, Ryan. We've talked so many times about, we know this character's coming back. I don't understand why people are just like, fall off a cliff with some of these people, with some of these books, because like they'd rather just get rid of the book for close to nothing than hold on to it for a few months and actually make more money off of it. So,
I mean, in some of them, it's because they went up too fast, too high, too fast, and that's like this and like Avengers 8. And, but I do think that it is a worth with the correction in prices. I think it is a worthwhile book.
We got two more times where we're going to see this book. We're going to see her. So we're going to see her in Doctor Strange 2, obviously. Who knows where we see her after that on the big screen. And then we obviously are getting a season 2 of.
Are we getting a season 2? I thought they said we weren't.
No, from what I understand, that we're getting a season 2 because they still got to make all that, White Vision stuff and connect all that. So there's possibly 2 more spikes in this, but we'll probably learn more during the movie. Because I mean, if she dies in the movie, or she's defeated, or she's sent off, but I mean, I think she's gonna hold a lot of cards in that dark, multiverse stuff, and she's got Agatha, obviously, like somewhere. So I think there's a bit more play to this one. So this one's gonna be
even if they play her as a villain, though, she's gonna have that like sort of redemption at the end. So they're still gonna.
Yeah, I don't think they'll have her be a permanent villain. Yeah. I agree.
No.
Yeah, so she'll still stick around, even if she does do a villainous role for
I would like there to be no season 2 of WandaVision.
I liked WandaVision. I thought it was great.
Yeah.
It was probably. Did I say it's my
House of
favorite?
Harkness would
I'd
be
say it was
good.
probably my favorite. Loki. I really liked Loki though. It's probably Loki
Loki
then
or WandaVision.
then probably Hawkeye, then Falcon and the Winter Soldier, then What If. I didn't even get through What If. I didn't really care for it.
I think What If is probably the
It's tough
last
to
one
rank
for me.
for me.
I'm sorry. I know people love it, but like it just wasn't. I don't know. I watched them all. I just I could care less. So
And I
I've loved
agree
them
with
all, man.
Dan. I like X-Men 9. I think that I know it's just a key for the crossover, but I think it's a great cover too.
yeah. All right. Let's stick with X-Men. And I've told this story many times, but when I came to Canada and I was watching X-Men, the Sentinels used to scare the shit out of me when I was watching that cartoon. Mostly because I would watch this show like at night. Like there was like reruns or whatever, but yeah, Sentinels, you can't go wrong with them. They're a staple in the show. Obviously, we're most likely going to probably see Sentinels in that X-Men 97 stuff, but dope cover. A lot of people have this one in their PC. Again, it's pretty affordable if you can get it under, a 5.5.
Yeah, this is one of my PC books. It's those like the Jack Kirby doing X-Men was awesome because he has so many good covers in that. Other than I'm assuming he did 5, other than 5, but he has so many good covers in that run. I mean, X-Men 12, awesome cover. X-Men 14, awesome cover. They're these red covers, and I know X-Men 12 is the more expensive book, but I feel like it should be X-Men 14. I mean, I know Juggernaut he's a kind of like a fan favorite type character, but
I'm sick of Juggernaut though.
Like I always think of the Sentinels when I think of the X-Men, and I think it's because I grew up on that cartoon, and they were always battling the Sentinels. It was always the Sentinels, and so
even when they were battling other people, the Sentinels would
they're always around. It's like Sentinel show up, and then Wolverine cuts one of their heads off.
Yeah, in the middle of the street, and he's like, "All right, I'm gonna go back to the base," and it's like nighttime. It's like, oh, okay.
Yeah. I mean, I really like this book, and like lots of other things, it has come down. And I've mentioned this on my channel. I've mentioned in other places that, we had all those big spikes in everything. Everything went up earlier in 2021. And then everything kind of came down as the year went on. And I feel like there are some books that deserve to come down and some books that didn't. And the thing is, everything got brought down. And so now we are seeing, I watch a lot of sales. I watch a lot of auctions, and we are seeing some books come back up and hit new highs. And it's very focused now. And so I think you need to pick those books that have that, the likelihood that they're going to be one of those that has a character show up or whatever. And this is a book that I really like. I think it's just, there's so many people that when they think of the X-Men, they think of Sentinels, and it's a great cover, right on the front. And it's again, I agree with what Face has said. Like a lot of we haven't really talked about any like bad books to own tonight. I mean, they're all great keys to have. And
not to mention, this is like a great Iceman cover too. Like,
where is he on there? it's like hiding in the window.
Ryan's like, what?
Blending in back in background.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I mean, I would recommend this book, especially if you can find it, maybe at a good price, whatever, go for it. It does get expensive as you get up into the higher grades.
I always joke about this book being the drum kit cover, and people are like, what? And I'm like, right behind the Sentinels. It always looked to me like a drum kit, and I don't know if it's because I played the drums, but I was always like, yeah, it's the drum kit one, right?
I mean, I've never figured out why they went with the short shorts, but
yeah.
But it's still like, you kind of look at it from like waist up, and you're like, oh yeah, that's pretty. He's less intimidating from the waist down.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a huge fan of villains in general. I mean, that's my thing, and the Sentinels have always been one of my favorite villains. Again, like you guys grew up with the cartoon, and they were just always fucking there, messing with the X-Men and everything like that. So, they were kind of like one of the big bads through the animated series. And, I always love seeing the Sentinels show up because, you knew it was going to be a a hell of a fight, and there was gonna be robot heads flying and shit like that. So
Wolverine was
um,
always cutting off those Sentinel heads.
Yeah,
yeah,
man.
exactly.
I was
So
like, how are his claws so long?
right, it didn't even make sense because one swipe and that fucking head was coming off somehow. uh, but yeah,
It does look
and
like
this
they
is
were
a great
recording in a
coverage.
recording studio.
Right?
Yeah,
It does. Now that I think about it, now I'll always see that. I'll always think of
Yeah.
this as like the Professor X mixtape.
That guy in the
cover.
purple's working the boards, you know?
Yeah.
Like,
right.
Oh,
Rocking
man.
out. Yeah, this is one I want for my personal collection, to be honest. So
I prefer this one over the Juggernaut one. And
I do too. I agree. I mean,
yeah, I like the Sentinels more than Juggernaut personally. But
yeah. Bronze Age Nerd, what's going on, man? Thanks for joining us tonight. Newbie, as a Canadian, do you prefer American price comics or the Canadian price ones to your collection? American. Yeah, I know that like price variants are like a hot topic and things like that. I don't know. The original, I guess. I don't know.
I still need to add a Canadian price variant to my
I
collection.
know you've been saying that for a while.
I know.
Yeah.
I
mean,
the
they're
interesting thing
expensive.
though, it used to be, I mean, I know most price variants sell for less. Canadians are one of the exceptions, but the interesting thing
Yeah.
I've seen recently is in the golden age, they're priced the same. They don't have a different price, but I've been seeing Canadian variant copies, like the Canadian publishers,
Right.
selling for pretty big numbers, often more than the US ones. It's almost like it didn't used to be that way, and it's almost like it's
Well, last summer, that's
transition
when
to
they
that.
really took off. Like if you go back, I think it was like May to July. There was really like a big surge in CPVs. Like a lot of people wanted them. It just
Yeah.
not to
People were
say
really
it was
talking about it here for a while.
overnight, but like a lot more people. I had people messaging me like crazy, like knowing that I'm in Canada, being like, "Hey, can you you must have them at your disposal." I'm like, "Well, not really." But
I mean, if you did, I'd be buying them because
Yeah.
they've always sold for a premium. I'd say maybe
Right.
that premium got a little stronger, but
like
yeah,
anything,
especially
though,
in
right?
high grades, high grade
Yeah.
CPVs were like really, really expensive.
Yeah.
All right. I think we're sticking to X-Men on the next one.
Man.
Oh, we
Well,
are. So we got
slightly
Giant Size
different.
X-Men #1, and I know why Ryan loves this one.
Yeah, I mean, it's been the same story. It's like the books that came down, and I felt like they didn't really deserve to. And I think, everybody knows this cover. I mean, everybody that's going to be watching this knows this cover, and this book has come down a ton. I mean, there are a couple books that have dropped significantly since kind of their peaks mid last year, and it's Hulk 181, Giant Size X-Men 1, X-Men 94 is another one, and that's why all of those books are books that I am actively watching for right now, because I mean, there's such huge keys. Like you cannot go wrong. But yeah, dump it to me.
Yeah, right. Exactly. I'll get rid of this for you.
Like you can't go wrong with those books. I mean, especially with there's no it's maybe we don't know when Marvel's going to use them, but they have the property back. They're 100% going to use this. And the thing I really like about books like Giant Size X-Men 1 and X-Men 1 is that you don't need to have those characters show up for those books to go up. They're like, it's that first issue. It's that like the hallmark issue. And so if you have the X-Men, any version of them show up, you're going to see X-Men 1 go up. You're going to see X-Men or Giant Size X-Men 1 go up. It doesn't need to be that like Alpha Flight shows up or, something like that. It's these books will go up when we have the X-Men. And it's an awesome cover. I like the cover. It's just, it's a great book. It's another one of those books though. You can get that variation in the red on the Giant Size X-Men. And there are some that the red is so deep. It just, they look incredible. And there's some that have the really faded red. And I personally, I don't like those as much. I really like the deep red.
Is mine deep red?
I mean, I'll go ahead and just keep this real brief. Because the only thing that I really need to say about this is it's Giant Size X-Men. Next. I mean, obviously you can't go wrong fucking adding this to your collection. Shit.
Other than the person that paid like 80,000 and now it's going for 38.
Well, yeah, that might
that person's probably
that
like,
might have been a misstep, but I mean, if you're researching fair market value and everything like that, yeah, you really can't go wrong.
I feel like that 80,000 number for the 9.8 will come back. Like it's not. I don't think they're going to lose money if they're patient.
Yeah.
Right.
But that was definitely
Ultimately, yeah,
this
they'll
was
get
the
that
book.
back.
I
Earlier
think
this year, this was
you
the
know,
book.
like Ryan said, I mean, you don't necessarily need certain characters to show up. You just need like X-Men. And I've said this a few times actually, me and BC, because we did get, you know, some information, but and I've even called it like guessing, and then I did get the information. But I mean, Professor X is going to be in Doctor Strange too. If you're shocked at that, I don't know. The information is getting out there now more and more, but we had kind of talked about it. And, you know, once that happens, once Professor X happens, I mean, I think that's going to kind of make this and X-Men 1 just kind of pop. Everyone's going to kind of want to go after them, the FOMO, the passive collectors and things like that. But again, you also do have, you know, first appearance of Nightcrawler, Colossus, Thunderbird, Storm. It's you know, it's from the show, even like the cartoon. I mean, I think this book is going to keep going up. I know I've tried to sell it, and Ryan and Vancouver Comic Junkie, Mr. Chris over there, have basically, you know, advised me not to, even when I could. And now I kind of see their vision. It just makes sense to hold on to it. You know,
I mean, the only way I've sold, like I had one before that I sold, but it was only to upgrade. So I had a 2.0 and I bought a 7.5 and then I sold my 2.0. That's with books like that. That's how I like to do it, because I don't want to sell it. And then and that's the tough part. 'Cause sometimes like you need that money to buy it. And so that can be a tough piece of that. But I don't like to sell the book and then try to find the copy I want, because in between that time, you could have some event happen that then causes prices to go up. And now you are having to put a bunch more money in to get the book you want. And so that's definitely a risk. So that is my recommendation for those keeper type key books. If you can, buy your next book first before you sell the other one. And the thing is, with big books like this, I mean, with my Hulk 181, I did that. With my Giant Size X-Men 1, I did that. I sold them within a week. They don't sit around long. If you have them priced right, they will sell. If you look on like eBay at like sold listings for Hulk 181, it's like 5 of them sell a day. I mean, they sell all the time. So you're not going to have trouble moving a book like that if you price it just around.
I think this one is still a hold. I mean, I could sell it today and be the lowest on eBay and still make like a significant profit, but I just think there's too much on the table. You know, once we get just a whiff of, you know, X-Men or mutants, I mean, I think it's just game over for some of these books for a little bit. And you know, you saw it from people who, when this book was spiking, everybody was like, oh man, I shouldn't have sold my copy. Why did I sell my copy? You know, you have that instant regret. So now when I see people be like, no, sell it, just I'm like, you might regret it a little bit later. So yeah, I'm definitely holding on to mine. And kind of, you know, we'll see where that goes. So I'm hopeful, man. I really do think that this one's going to be go up in the near future for sure.
I don't think you're going to have to worry.
No. I just won't be able to like retire off of it. But I mean, you know, my buy-in for this book was very low, 1,800 Canadian. So like, you know, it was very low. So yeah, not worried. All right. Final book, Ryan. We've talked about this book many times in different shows, in our private chats. A lot of people were asking questions when you brought up ASM 129 about, you know, oh, what would you rather have, this one or 129? But here we have it. So we have the cameo appearance of Galactus and the first appearance of Silver Surfer.
Yeah, and so with this one, I mean, my favorite from the trilogy is 49. So I have the 48, 49, and 50, and I currently have 48 and 50 listed for sale, but not my 49. You know, and part of that is because I think I still think it's going to be a while till we get anything with Galactus and Silver Surfer, and so I'm fine selling it, and I don't mind my copies. It's like a 3 or 3.5, I think, something like that. And so it's not like a high grade copy. Like, whereas my 49 is an 8.5, and I'm not going to be able to easily replace that book ever.
No.
There are not a lot of those higher grade copies out there, and so I'm not planning on letting that one go unless somehow I picked up a higher grade. If I had a higher grade copy of 48, I'd probably keep it. But I do think this is another one that everything Silver Surfer went a little nuts last year. I think everybody kind of thought that we were going to immediately get Galactus or Silver Surfer or something. I feel like it's going to be a while. I don't know. I think it's going to be a while. There are so many villains that could potentially show up. Putting that much into one of those is, for the time, and and that's a tough thing. It's all how you go about comics, and so for me, I collect books, but I am also I call it kind of like like a dealer. Like I buy and sell a lot of books, and so I have to think about the time value of the money that I have invested in that book. And for this one, I feel like I can get something else instead in the meantime.
Yeah,
but
instead of holding it, right?
Right, instead of holding it. But if I came across a copy that was a good price, I would 100% pick it up. It is one that I keep an eye on because I wouldn't mind getting like something in like a mid grade, like a 6. But it's an expensive book. It's another one of these where it's not a bad book to pick up regardless. It's the biggest trilogy in Marvel. I mean, I don't think there's much question about that.
What about Iron Man 282, 283, 284?
Yeah. So
you sound crazy.
It's not a bad book to own. Like I said, my favorite is 49. It's come down a lot. From the peaks, it was one of those that peaked a lot. So yeah, I would buy it if the price was right, but it's not a book that I'm expecting anything in the immediate term for price jumps.
Yeah, look, if anybody's looking for a kidney or whatever, and you've got a copy of Fantastic Four 48, 49, or 50, hit me up in the DMs and I got you. I mean, I would donate my liver too, but I probably fucked that up a little too much. So, yeah, I mean, Galactus is one of my favorite characters.
Yep.
So, yeah, this trilogy for me is like, it's probably, I would say, damn near my holy grail to get this eventually. And I do agree with Ryan. I think we got some time before we'll see, Galactus actually show up in the MCU. I think there will be, hints and everything like that. But I feel like, Kevin Feige, he seems like he was probably a comics fan, and he does, they do like to give us that certain level of fan service. So I feel like they'll want to kind of introduce Galactus sort of like, quote unquote, the right way, and do it after, they introduce Fantastic Four and have him come in through them. So I think we got a little bit of time on him. But yeah, I definitely think we're going to see Galactus show up. I mean, just the way that they introduced the Eternals, or I mean, the Celestials in Eternals, they're fucking dying to just get to Galactus. Yeah, it kind of feels like it, just because they did it perfect.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I said. Like that felt like Galactus. Like that's
exactly.
And I know that's
what it should have been
what they were getting at. Like it was too.
Well, what do you think? Well, Ryan, now that you've seen
like
the movie,
cover of 49.
Yeah, but now that you've seen the movie, even the end credit with like when they say the beacon and it's summoning somebody, it's when they're like, oh, it's like calling to somebody. Like, who did you think that was?
Are you talking about Shang-Chi?
Yeah,
I was like, I don't remember that from Eternal.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, I think that's going to be. My guess is a little different. I don't think it's Galactus. I think it's going to be Fin Fang Foom, because the Macalon rings, they have to do with him. So I think it could lead in that direction.
Yeah.
They already
I have no idea who they're. I had thought people were thinking that the rings had something to do with the Eternals, but
it's hard to say what they're going to do.
Yeah.
They got a lot of directions they can go in. They've got options.
Yeah. I think this book is one that a lot of people want. Obviously, it spiked crazy along with a lot of things, with no confirmed, no rumors, no nothing. It was just, I think people really wanted this to happen. Also, I mean, being Stan Lee's favorite character, maybe one day, you know, they pay homage back to the character or whatever the case may be. Who knows? But I think there's a time, you know, coming where this is going to be like cheaper than it is right now. I mean, it just happens with everything. It happens with all the books. So I don't think that this is going to be one that, you know, is going to be any different. I think that if you kind of maybe hold out a little bit, you might surprise yourself on a deal. But again, if you can find a good deal, I would probably grab it. But I just think it's going to be a while before we get, you know, Silver Surfer anyway.
Spexman has been making me laugh like all night. Like I've never looked at the Watcher's feet before. I had never noticed like the purple shoes.
Oh, those are the best shoes right there.
It just never even like registered with me.
All the Watchers had them.
They were calling Quasar in the quantum bands. That's why Carol bounced in the end credit scene, so we can see Phyla as Quasar in the Marvels.
Oh, see, that's another good direction they could go with it too. They've definitely got some options there to play with. So,
yeah, we'll see. Well, that is the game that we call keys to still invest in, except, you know, FF52, according to Ryan. Stay away from that one. But other than that,
I liked this list though. That was
yeah.
that one. Like sometimes there are books where I'm like, man, but like every book on here, were definitely books that I would buy.
That was the first list we've ever done with that segment that did not have a DC book. So next time we do this next month,
I'll have to give you some DC
we'll
books.
have some DC. Yes, we will.
Oh yeah, we didn't have no damn DC. That's
Now there is something I do want to mention. Not sure if it's going to be next month or maybe in March, but Ryan will come on. We'll maybe do it like every other month where we do like hottest comics and then like maybe keys to kind of stay away. I know I had thrown that idea to Ryan and Ryan kind of liked that. And that's also like a good, you know, topic of conversation because as much as it's easy to say, hey, buy this book, it's also just as easy to be like, don't buy this book for this reason. So we're going to be touching that next month or March. We'll see how it kind of
eventually we'll just told everybody to buy every book.
or that. Ryan, I want to thank you for joining us. Please let the people know where they can find you and what you do, sir.
Yeah, so I'm under Automatic Comics on Instagram and on YouTube. Generally, I put out a couple videos a week, usually like a top 10 video. I do something a little different than some of the other top 10 videos. I watch the weekly Heritage Comic Auction and I pick the top 5 surprising sales on the high end and then top 5 on the low end. So ones that failed to meet expectations. So you kind of see maybe some books that I feel like it's a good way to show people that there are deals out there. You know, if you watch enough stuff, you can find these deals. And I only really watch keys. So it's big keys. It's not like some random book. And so I think that's a fun segment. I also do a lot of unboxings, and I like to buy keys, and I like to buy relatively big keys. So, you know, you can see some fun books, you know, some ranging from like Golden Age up through and even some occasional moderns. And so I feel like they're always just, I like showing those books. I especially like showing the Golden Age ones because that's how I got interested in them. It was following people on Instagram that would post these pictures. And I was like, that book is like just seeing these like crazy books that you never knew existed.
Yeah.
And then it's rewarding to find them because they don't come up for sale very often. And so when you come across that chance to pick them up, it's a different feeling than I get from other books. So,
I know when you show me some of them in like our chats with like Chris and Jake, I'm like, what the hell is this? Like, I've never seen it. And some of them are cool. And then some of them are, I'm like,
there's some crazy stuff from like the 40s where people think, you know, I think like the 40s and 50s were like Leave It to Beaver times and things. And you've got these covers with like just people getting like brutally murdered on the cover, you know, and it's like, oh, these were made for kids.
Yeah.
You know, they were not made for adults. It's like for little kids. So yeah, I think that stuff it's a really interesting part of comic history. So I enjoy talking about those and showing those.
Well, I appreciate you, bringing us your numbers and your knowledge of these books. It's always a good time when you're here. Face, I didn't forget about you. Let the people know what's going on your end with the gentleman at Comic Kingpin, sir.
Yeah, you can check us out every Monday over on Comic Kingpins at 7:00, doing previously on. Next week, we're going to have a pretty big show. You know, we've got Hyper's birthday bash going on. He's So that's going to be a good time, of course. And we're also doing our 250 subscriber giveaway. So we've got fuck tons of books that we're giving away next week. So yeah, stop by, join us at 7, and we got it. Oh yeah, I definitely want to mention quick shout out to a couple members of the community that donated. Newbie Comics, Dan De La Torre, Comic Ozzy, Get Slab 081. The other guys at the Kingpins. There's been Neighbor to the North. I'm sure I'm forgetting a couple, man, but there's been a lot of donations that we've gotten for the giveaway, so it's gonna be a good time. So definitely stop by and check us out next week.
All right. I'll be on next on Sunday, New Comic Book Day, comic news, comic spec. Enjoy. Tomorrow, New Comic Book Day Eve. Obviously, if you're missing out, Venom 4, Hulk 3, Moon Knight 7. Those are looking like the 3 winners for tomorrow. A lot of those selling up high. Also, check out the 3,000 subscriber giveaway. There's no video for it. Basically, all you have to do is just sub up to the channel, be live for the giveaway. I posted some of the books that are given out, and like Faye said, I mean, there's a lot of people that donated and are still donating, so I appreciate you. Any last words, gentlemen?
I think we covered it.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, and always fun.
Yeah, eat your vitamins, stay in school, listen to your parents, all that jazz. That's the show. See you later, guys.
Later.
Peace.